And welcome back, everybody, to the TV show. I'm Jay Black, joined as always by Rhea Hughes and the very tan Angelo Cataldi.
No, I'm down sea aisle right now, and it's a little, it's just a different lighting issue. I am not tanned. I am not trying to get melanoma.
I don't think anybody's trying to get melanoma.
No.
All right, so we got a lot to get to today. And I wanted to start with a person, I don't even know your opinion on this person, as a Philadelphia celebrity and a guy who is a broadcaster par excellence. People really love this guy. Rhea, tell me about Stephen A. Smith, because ESPN is reportedly offering him, and let me get this number right, $90 million for a 5-year contract to retain the services of Stephen A. Smith. At the same time, they are cutting behind the scene and in front of the camera people. Is Stephen A. Smith worth, I don't know, 90 Sports Center anchors in your mind, Rhea?
Let me make this very clear, and Angela will co-sign this. We love Stephen A. Smith. We're friends with Stephen A. Smith. And we actually, Angelo, gave him his very first on-air job, 30 years ago.
Wow.
For $25 a hit. So he's gone up exponentially since that $25. I mean, here's the thing is, if ESPN's going to offer him $90 million, they can afford it. They can also afford not to lay off other people. Mm-hmm. So, Stephen, I don't complain about people. 90 million is a tough number, but if that's what they're offering, they can give it to him. Right. But it's, the optics aren't good with your coworkers when they're cutting people left and right and you're getting $90 million.
Stephen A. Smith is not worth $90 million. He's worth double or triple that. We are talking in a world where Tom Brady, a total rookie with no experience, is getting over $300 million. Now tell me, who is more valuable to their network? Tom Brady to Fox or Stephen A. Smith to ESPN? They're lowballing him at $90 million. He is the face of ESPN. Now, let me tell you a little story, because this is, Rhea's 100% right. We broke Stephen in. He was covering the Sixers for the Enquirer, all right? And Stephen A. Smith would come on very early on. Like, we would book him as an expert when a Sixer topic came up. And he was flamboyant and interesting and crazy then. And he would go off the air, Jay, and within 2 minutes, Al would go, please, let's not bring that guy back on. He is so annoying. He doesn't actually know anything. He's going nowhere. And I went, Al. And this is, I was wrong with Al way more than I was right. But I went, Al, do you understand that's where this is going? It's compelling. It's interesting. When he's on, just the way he would say things were dramatic. And he was born with that theatrical ability. Stephen A. Smith is awesome. Stephen A. Smith, of all the guys that are out there doing hot takes now, he was A, the first. B, he was better than Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp and all these other guys that are out there. This guy is for real. And I'll tell you something else, and this is something no one knows about. He's also an amazingly loyal guy, and underneath that, really feisty exterior, he's a heck of a good guy. He's a good, he really is. In our business, there's a lot of jackasses.
Yeah.
Stephen A. is not one of them. And finally, and Stephen A., I'd love to believe he learned a little of this from me. He is squeezing every nickel out of these executives because they're all a bunch of empty suits.
Yeah.
And he holds the hammer. Everyone should be rooting for Stephen A. because he is one of us who has the hammer and can wield it against the executives and the media. I hope he gets triple what they're offering right now. I wouldn't take it. I'll tell you right now, if he called me and he doesn't need my advice, but I would say, Stephen A., you're worth way more than that.
Hold out. Well, I'll say this.
The interesting part that you brought up, what they're paying Tom Brady is people are going to watch the NFL if they put Jay on the broadcast. So you don't need to spend, have a good analyst, but we're going to watch. If there's an Eagles game on Fox, I'm watching it. I don't care who the announcer is. So the $300 million they're paying him is totally outrageous. You watch ESPN for Stephen A. Smith.
All right, hold on a second. Yeah, I'm not buying into. I would still watch with Jay. I would technically watch, but I would mute it. I would not.
Angela, I could be wonderful. You don't know.
No, you don't know anything about football. There's no way on earth you would be able to do that.
I would point out who has the better uniform.
I would mute it. You understand? I go, oh God, this guy's worse than Collingsworth.
I'll say this about two things. One, I too started with Angelo Cataldi on the morning show. I got $0 a hit, and I am still making $0 a hit. So, Steve, you didn't break me quite the same way.
Not everyone worked out the same.
No.
I heard Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A's getting $100 million, and Jay's on ships half the time.
That's right. I'll be on the NCL cruise to Alaska this August. Come check me out. I heard Stephen A. Smith give a defense of his position on Max Kellerman. Because you got Max Kellerman, there was some not rivalry, but he said, Max didn't really work out on the show. And it was just like a YouTube video of him explaining himself. And I didn't quite register that it was Stephen A. Smith at first. And I was just like, oh, who's this compelling human being talking about this? And I was just like, this guy knows how to talk better than most human beings know how to talk. And yeah, if you can do that and be compelling day in and day out, especially on TV, you are worth that kind of money.
But Ange, let me just tell you one thing, because I wanted to play it this morning, but I didn't get a chance to. In 2016, Stephen A. was talking about Villanova going into the championship game, and he said, they don't have a single NBA prospect on their roster. Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, and now Mikal Bridges are all on the Knicks. So, we do this job, and we say a lot of stuff that is absolutely not true all the time.
Yeah, right. So, but they all went to the Knicks. Why don't they just hire Jay Wright now as a coach? They're all there. I don't know.
So I sent you guys an article. Casey Hunt on CNN was doing an interview, and I don't want to get into the politics of it. I think you guys know my opinions on the politics of this, but they kept trying to guide the interview. The person who was being interviewed kept not answering the questions that they were being asked. And eventually Casey Hunt said, you know what, if you're going to insult my colleagues, if you're not going to answer my questions, cut the interview short. Tired of this. Angelo, you've done 7 million interviews over the course of your career. Were there any times that you cut someone short and dumped them out because they weren't answering the questions?
Oh, plenty of times. But I understand. And again, I guess I'm getting a little political here, but I don't have a choice. This Flack who worked for Trump was trying to get kicked off. You understand? She went on there. And the one thing you cannot do on a show is insult other people that are a part of the same organization that you're on with, because that's media protocol. Right. So when you're doing that, you're trying to get thrown off so you could say before the debate, see, CNN's on Biden's side. That's all she was trying to do. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Jay. This happened many times on our show when someone would come on and trash the afternoon show, the midday show. If I liked the person, like if it was Joe DeCamera doing middays, I would say, call Joe DeCamera. I don't want to hear that on my show.
Sure.
If it was Howard Eskin, I would let them speak. In fact, when they were done, I would say, do you have anything else to add? My standards on this were what, and Rhea will tell you, this was 33 years. What was my agenda? So like, if somebody went on CNN and ripped Jake Tapper, and I didn't like Jake Tapper, I'd let him go a few minutes. Then I get outraged. But that's the way it works. I'm sorry. But she did the right thing, because the only thing the Flack was trying to do was get thrown off so she could show again what a victim Trump and his people are. And it's all BS. Sorry, I'm political here. I'm answering the question.
I know. Well, I'm gonna veer it back to, there's only one time And I won't say Angelo kicked the subject off. He ushered it out as quickly. We had an Eagles player on, and Angelo asked him a question, and I guess he didn't like the question, but Angelo was being complimentary, but he took it the wrong way. And from that moment on, every question Angelo answered, one word. And when Angelo got to like the fourth question, which I thought stretched it a little long,
Right.
and that he was like, just no, yes, no. Angelo goes, hey, thanks for joining us. Bye. And it was just like, yeah, at that point he had to cut bait. So it was the right thing to do.
I was kicked off the air one time by Angelo Cataldi. Kicked me off the air.
What did you do?
You asked me to do, it was way early and coming on, and you asked me to do a top 5, like who was the best in TV. And I went super esoteric. I was doing like vice presidents of development for like FX. And like by number 3,
Zasloff.
Yeah, get him off the air. And
that was not, again, that was not my agenda that day, so I had to let you go. But one last thing, Rhea, I'm trying to, Jordan Howard. That was the Eagle player who's a running back, and he sucked both on the field and as an interviewer.
He got a stinger that I believe 15 years later is still lasting. But you know, you were asking him like it was a complimentary question, and I think he misinterpreted. I really do think he misinterpreted.
I guess he was awful. You're right. I should have cut him after the second one-word answer.
You mentioned the debate, which, if you're listening to this on Thursday, is tonight, but it's tomorrow for us. CNN announced that they are going to buck 60 years of tradition and have commercials. It's the first time a presidential debate has ever had commercials. Now, Rhea, I know you tell your son, thank God for commercials, because it pays for everything that you own. Do you think that this is an inevitability when TV gets involved, or is this sort of a gross thing that they're doing where they're taking something that is very newsworthy and putting a commercial layer on top of it?
I'm shocked it took 60 years, and I believe in it. Again, as I tell my son, our homes are your schooling, everything you own is paid for by commercials. It's, to me, it's just a part of life on TV. You know, you got the debate going. All right, coming up next, we're going to ask about that. You know, somebody has to pay for all of the people who are running this debate. You know, you're asking the wrong person. I am pro commercials.
Jay, I think you're on the wrong topic. I don't care about the commercial. Do you realize that for people like us who are alive for most of the entire history of television, that this is a real thing? It's a big moment in television. You understand? This is one of those real things, like the Super Bowl every year, where everyone's going to be watching the same thing. And here's what makes it so interesting. If Trump just remains contained, he wins a debate. If he doesn't go nuts like he's done in these other ones, doesn't interrupt, doesn't do dumb stuff, he wins. If Biden stays awake and is fairly coherent, he wins. And I'll tell you the truth, I doubt either of those things are going to happen. I am picking Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to win the debate, and he's not in it.
So last week, I was a little nervous because I suggested Jenny Nicholson, her video on the 4-hour video about the Star Wars theme park, the hotel that was a disaster. But then Vanity Fair came out with their best TV of the year so far and put Jenny Nicholson's video on the list. At the same time, the Emmys announced that 2 TV shows on YouTube or YouTube shows, Good Mythical Morning, which I confess to have never having seen, and Hot Ones, whose viral videos I see all the time, where celebrities eat hot wings and answer questions, will be eligible for the Emmys this year. So it seems like the overlap between TV and YouTube, at least in the minds of the people who program, at a higher level than us, say, are overlapping a lot. Angelo, do you agree with this, or is there a distinction in your mind?
I'm glad you came to me on this because I watched Jenny Nicholson after your recommendation. And I really do not see much of anything on YouTube except my grandsons. They go on there every once in a while with a video that's seen like by 10 people, whatever it is. But she is a talent.
Right? Yes. I'm so glad you liked it.
She is a natural. The writing is really good. The delivery is excellent. And I started watching it and I enjoyed it. But not for 4 hours. Sure. You're asking way too much.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it's different and should be separate from what we see on TV or in theaters. This is basically a one-person production where she's interspersing video and all sorts of stuff. But it's not sustainable. It's not like a really good movie. I just, maybe I'm old-fashioned in that. I'm happy that she got acknowledged. I think she will move into mainstream at some point and be a big star because that kid has got, what is she, 20, 21?
I think she's a little bit older than that, but she's youthful. She's in her 20s at the very least.
Yeah. But to me, it's blurring the line more than I like it to blur because it's not the same thing as a TV production or a movie production. It's more homemade amateur kind of thing, even though she's really beyond amateur status. Look, I'm glad she got the acknowledgement, but I don't think she should win anything in the mainstream. There should be separate things for her.
Do you agree, Rhea? Is it separate is a good thing here, or should it be blurred a little bit more?
Well, I just know Angelo mentioned his grandsons who are basically the same age as my son, and that's all he watches. I mean, he'll watch, but I mean, primarily, and he's always going, Mom, check this out on YouTube. I mean, I think there should probably be a separate category. Angelo's right. I would never watch anything for 4 hours on YouTube. But I know the younger generation, they consume a lot of their media on YouTube. So I don't know if the solution is create a separate category. But I don't go to YouTube for content. So it's not something I do.
My youngest daughter watches shorts, YouTube shorts, and I just watch her just flick up. She'll watch like 15 seconds, flick up. So it's weird, this dichotomy of it's either 4-hour mega dumps or 15 seconds is a little bit too much. I'm bored. I've got to move on. So it's like this weird thing of like, but yeah, guys, check out Jenny Nicholson. She is, as Angela said, a talent. And if you run a production company, I would be swooping in right now to sort of say, like, what can I give you to make content for me?
Exactly.
Speaking of people giving us money for content, let's talk about our wonderful sponsor, Steven Singer. Angela, I saw your finger go up. What do you got about Steven Singer?
Well, remember now, I've been retired over a year, but I broke into an actual commercial on the beach over the weekend in Sea Isle, here on the beach. I'm sitting there under my little cabana, right? And it's a beautiful sea breeze. Oh, it's such a great day. And some guy comes by right near my cabana with one of those metal detectors, right? I mean, he's invading my space, right? So I say to the guy, I go, you ever really get anything there? He started to, we get a lot of change, which I don't know, it doesn't seem like worth it. And every once in a while, we get a diamond ring.
Wow.
And I go, wow. I said, what do? Do you try to find the person that lost it? And he went, no, I tried to hawk it and make money. And I went, well, how do you tell the value of the diamond? And he goes, that's the tough part. We hope we got an honest guy. And I launched into, I got the guy for you. The other corner of 8th and Walnut, I can guarantee you, if you want to know the value of a diamond, Steven Singer at Steven Singer Jewelers will give you the honest value every time. And at that point, I was kind of hoping he would find a ring so I would take it right to Steven and prove my point. But that's the whole thing with honesty and jewelers. A lot of them are not. Steven is. You will get the perfect ring or whatever piece of jewelry, right down to Clark Cohen's thing for his girlfriend. You will get what
Girlfriend's
you
very
need.
happy with it. And as you know, like I said, you don't, you want to get a gift that's within your budget. Clark
Yeah,
walked in with a budget,
right,
gave him the budget. It was around $100 and he got it. And your budget's a little more. They
right.
they literally go, he goes, yeah, we got a whole, container over there that's got, necklaces for $100. So it's
Mm.
great. His girlfriend's happy. Everybody's happy. So Steven Singer, I don't hate Steven Singer, but go to IHateStevenSinger.com.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And just to show you what a great guy I am, Jay, after he left, I threw a nickel into the sand in the hopes that when he comes back around, he'll find something.
That's Angelo Cataldi, mensch of mensches.
Man of the people.
You can find IHateStevenSinger.com right in our podcast description. Scroll on down. You will see the link. Click on it and help support the man who supports us. Now, Rhea, everybody's favorite segment, the British Corner. What do you got for us this week?
Well, you guys are big documentary people. I am not generally, but this popped up on BritBox. It's called Manhunt, Search for the Cop Killer. It retraces, I had never heard of this, an 18-day search in 1982 for a man in northern England who shot and killed 2 cops and a retiree. What was amazing about it was at the time, it was the largest manhunt in the entire history of England. They had 4,000 police officers looking for this guy in woods and all this kind of stuff. The crazy thing is, guns are not a thing in England, okay? Like they are prevalent in the United States. Half of the force didn't even have guns. They're searching for a gunman. These police officers going out looking for them. Some of them had rifles that had like 3 or 4 old cartridges, and they were going out and this is in 1982. They didn't have the access to radios to be able to stay in touch with each other. So, but what I will tell you, what was really interesting, it's a standard issue, police documentary about a case that happened. But what I found really interesting, and I'm not really giving anything away, is unfortunately the first officer who was killed was an officer who pulled up to a car that was sitting by the side of the road with a guy who was sleeping. So he goes up, knocks on it, and he gets information from the guy. Half of the information was not true, okay? And as the police officer walks back to make a call from his car radio, this gunman, and his name is Barry Prudhomme, shoots and kills him, back of the head, a cowardly way to go about it. What I found interesting about this documentary, how they catch people, is they said they found the notes that this officer took under his body, unfortunately with his blood all over it. But when you get stopped by the police and you're trying to hide from them, you immediately give them a false name.
Right.
You give them a false address. They did have the registration of the car, but he gave everything false. They said what they have found with criminals is they never give a false birth date, because it's your birth date is ingrained in your head. Mine, 12/29, my birthday's, and so because cops will notice so you can say, hey, I'm John Smith, I live in North Berkshire, but you always give your birthday and they say it happens time, and it's how they eventually found out who it was.
Wow.
So I thought that was a really interesting part of this whole thing. So it was, like I said, straightforward procedural documentary. And I will give a PSA to people, because you know how I feel about dogs and cats and animals. There was a canine dog, which I was shocked back in 1982. They had canine dogs. I didn't realize they went back that far. That was shot trying to save somebody from this guy, but they never said if the dog survived. And I was like, upset by that.
Right.
So I did some research. The dog was shot twice, protecting somebody and saving them, and survived. So, if you're watching it and, you're like, oh my God, what about the dog? Because I did say that, what about the dog? But it's called Manhunt, Search for the Cop Killer, available on BritBox. And it just popped up on BritBox, so it's brand new.
People need to understand that
great.
Back in the 80s, you could legitimately disappear. Like people had like multiple families. You could just move to Arizona and tell everybody your name is John, and you're like, all right, I guess your name is John. It was a good time. I missed that time. Too many cameras now. At Teen Corner, what did Clark watch this week?
So Clark and the girlfriend went to see Inside Out 2, the animated Pixar.
Yeah.
Did you see it? Okay. I'm sure Angelo didn't. So I want to kind of explain it to you, Angelo. So I think it's 10 years after the original was released. Basically, what it is, it's an animated Pixar. The original one was Riley, this little girl who moved to a new neighborhood and had all these emotions. And the Pixar would flip to her brain, inside her brain, where the headquarters of anger, played by Lewis Black, who, phenomenal comedian, joy, Amy Proler. So these voices would all be in her head, these characters. So now they came out with Inside 2, where Riley is now a teenager. So now we're introduced, because it's puberty. So we've got all these new emotions. Here's the cool thing. There are 2 new characters. So there's new emotions, anxiety, which you get as a teenager, played by Maya Hawke, obviously the daughter of Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke, and people know from Stranger Things. And I never pronounce her name right, from The Bear, Ayo Edebiri.
At
She plays Envy. By the way, The Bear comes out this week. I know what we're all doing the rest of this week.
Yes.
Here's Clark said, I love this. I said, Clark, did you like it? He goes, I liked it, but it's not as emotional as everybody says. Maybe it's just me. But the girlfriend cried 7 times during the movie.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
but the money, Jay, you were talking about everything. Nobody goes to movie theaters. There's a specific reason. This has made Inside Out 2 $724 million at the box office as of Sunday morning. Highest grossing film of 2024. They expect it's going to surpass Barbie at $1 billion.
Wow.
I know why. There's been a massive heat wave across the country. So everybody went to the movies.
It's cold in there.
You need to bring a sweatshirt. But it's also, Clark said, was really terrific. But I think times of season factor when people go to the movies. Yeah. And a heat wave will literally send people to the movies.
My 13-year-old daughter gave it the 13-year-old girl seal of approval. That's what it's like inside a 13-year-old girl's head. Angela, just to make it clear to you, you only have anger in your head. The other emotions are not in there.
Right. By the way, the beer thing that she just referenced, we're all going to watch it. We're going to do a whole segment on it next week.
Yes.
I'm just letting you know now, Jay, because the beer is the best thing on TV.
Yes.
Can't wait for it.
And the big question is, can it hold up in season 3? And that we're all going to find out together. As this comes out, it is now available on Hulu. Yeah. You got to check it out. All right. I went outside the box a little bit this week. I got to be honest. These both seem like weird things to recommend, but I'm telling you, they're both incredibly compelling. The first one's on Amazon Prime. It is, and don't get the wrong impression that I'm a creepy old man like Bill Belichick. All right. It's called Secrets of Penthouse. It's the story of Bob. It's the story of Bob Guccione.
Yeah.
And when you see a documentary, there's always some redeeming quality in the person. There is no redeeming quality in Bob Guccione. By the end of it, and he reaches the heights. He is practically a billionaire. He has Penthouse has beaten out Playboy magazine. He's the most pretentious, obnoxious, awful guy. All 4 of his kids he disowned, all for different reasons. No, this guy is so bad. And then he takes over this castle in Manhattan, the whole building, and he turns it into this gauche outrage, Caligula. It was Caligula. And here's the bottom line on it. The last couple of years of his life, after losing everything, he had to live in this tiny little tenement in New Jersey. You should see the size of this. It's like the house most of us grew up in. So it had kind of and then he died. And that was kind of the closest thing to a happy ending you could get. But you will never hate a guy more than you will hate this guy watching this thing. It's called Secrets of Penthouse. I found it compelling, but not as compelling as the other thing. And understand, I think Rhea could relate this. I love my dog, and my dog had a medical crisis last week, really bad. Gail was already down the shore. I was in charge. I had to take him to the hospital a couple of times.
Oh, God.
And in between the 2 visits to the hospital, I needed something to take my mind off it. It was very stressful. And I saw the second season of a show I had seen the first season of, and I blitzed the whole season, 8 episodes, because I was overwhelmed by how interesting I found it. It's called King of Collectibles on Netflix. It's the story of a nerdy, weird slave driver, Ken Golden, right? And this guy is the #1 auction sports collectible guy in the world. Now he's moving into comic books and Pikachu and all this other stuff. And here's the thing. It's just, the episodes are all like 30, 35 minutes. There's one moment, this will tell you the whole thing. One of his guys, his card guy is there. And some guy brings him a card of like a Pikachu, you know, one of those Ninja Turtle
Pokemon.
things or whatever.
Pokemon,
and it's in this big case. And you gotta, this is so hilarious, but they don't play it for fun. And he opens the case up. And you would thought he saw the Holy Grail. His face is like, he puts the case back down, sits back, and is like, his life has just taken an amazing turn. Right. Gold doubloons and a hidden cat. It's really good. It's unbelievably good. And in it, it features, because this nerdy guy knows a lot of big sports names.
Yeah.
It shows the first interview in history in which Barry Bonds is likable.
Wow.
Rhea, Barry Bonds, you are going to like Barry Bonds in this interview. Never happened.
Okay.
What drug did he take to become likable?
He knows this guy, and the guy's about to sell his collection. And you should see the collection. You should see Reggie Jackson's collection. It will blow your mind. Anyway, it's a heck of a show. They're both documentaries, Secrets of Penthouse, King of Collectibles. This one's on Netflix. And you will not be able to stop until you've seen all 8 episodes. That's all I'm saying. I'm
gonna be watching that Penthouse video today, and then I'll watch the documentary.
It's not like that. You're creepy.
No, Bob Guccione, he produced Caligula, right? That was the movie.
He's an awful guy. Even that was bad. Wait till you hear the stories about that.
Well, you know what isn't bad is Angelo Cataldi's book, Loud, which you can get at angelocatali.com. He has it down at the shore, ladies and gentlemen. He has it down at the shore.
He has it.
Go to angelocatali.com or amazon.com and check that out. Or Audible if you want to hear him pronounce Pikachu, which is always fun. You can go to stevensinger.com or IHateStevensinger.com to visit our illustrious sponsor. You can also go, if you just go right now to your little podcast app, there's a button that says send us a text message. I forward every text message I get to Angelo and Rhea, and sometimes we use your suggestions for our conversation. Tell a friend about the podcast. No, wait, tell 2 friends about the podcast. We grow each and every week, and we thank you for listening. We'll be back next week.
I gotta give them all of our recommendations, Jay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I went too fast. Sorry, Angelo, give us our recommendations.
Stephen A. Smith is available for your watching pleasure at ESPN. Currently at like 90 million, but probably getting more. Casey Hunt, the person that cut off the Donald Trump flack, she's on CNN, as is the debate. It's being run by CNN. And it's going to be very interesting. It is Thursday night this week, probably tonight if you're watching our podcast today. Jenny Nicholson, you got to at least check her out. Go on YouTube. She's really terrific. And Manhunt is a big recommendation by Rhea on BritBox by way of Amazon Prime. Inside Out 2, which is in theaters now, highly recommended by Clark Cohn's girlfriend. And I am recommending The Secrets of Penthouse on Amazon Prime and King of Collectibles on Netflix.
Thank you so much, guys. We will be back next week. As we were saying, The Bear next week. Tune in. The Bear, ladies and gentlemen. Alert! The Bear. It's back. See you next week.